On this episode of EdTech, we talk about the Surface Hub, Microsoft's new product, whether or not that will have an impact on the higher ed technology. Also, InfoComm and BICSI are getting together for a cable class. And what is the state of classroom capture software? All that and more next on EdTech.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is EdTech, episode 43, recorded Tuesday, May 3rd, 2016. The Wall Tablet. EdTech is brought to you by our fine group of underwriters, companies like FSR. This is EdTech, the monthly look at higher ed education segment for the AV industry. My name is Tim Albright. I am your host. With us this month is Mr. Bill O'Donnell. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Tim. How are you?
I am doing fine. Also with us is Ernie Bailey. Mr. Bailey, how are you, sir?
I'm doing very well today. Thank you, sir.
Very good. Our token consultant, Mike Tomei. How are you, brother?
Great. Thanks, Tim.
And he was new last time, and we didn't beat him up enough, so he came back. Mr. David Huckleberry, how are you, brother?
Doing great.
Doing good. All right. So very good. We are 1 month out from InfoComm, and we will actually, when we post this show, we'll post when we're going to do it, but we're going to do it live at our booth, an episode of this. So come on by and check it out. You can throw things.
We did that last year.
We did do that last year. I know. You know, and people liked it, so we're going to do it again. So, and I will tell you, our booth has had several iterations over the last 3 or 4 years. Let me just say that without any sort of caveat, that this will by far be our best booth ever. So, our team of guys, and this is not me, this is Matt Scott and Harry Mead, and we're working with a company called Prime View, who does some really, really slick displays. We're stealing an idea that we got from our friends at AV Magazine at ISE, and we're doing a broadcast studio in our little 20 by 20 area. So, yeah, might actually look professional. So, once in a while.
I'm just going to take a trumpet right here and say it's going to be huge.
It's going to be huge. We're going to make InfoComm great again.
Yeah, you got to say about the H. Huge.
I can't do that. I'm from the Midwest. You forget that. All right. Let's kick on with the stories there, kids. This one came out a couple weeks ago, and not for nothing, but I enjoy busting the chops of every reporter that has an excitement level beyond measure for the Surface Hub. If you're not familiar with what the Surface Hub is, here's the synopsis. Microsoft said, hey, let's get into the AV industry and this whole huddle space, collaboration space. Got a lot of smart people together. Bought a company that did interactive touch displays and slapped Windows 10 on it. I'm being a little bit facetious here, but put Windows 10 on it. They've got cameras, they got speakers. It is in theory, it's an interesting piece. However, they had delays upon delays upon delays, which happens in manufacturing, which happens in developing a new technology. But so many delays that it became a running joke, at least in the AV industry. They finally announced that they are shipping. Currently, AVI SPL is one of the ways you can get it. Wetlock is another one. Microsoft is taking a very heavy-handed approach when it comes to the distribution of this specific product. I bring this up in EdTech because we didn't get a chance to talk about it last month, and I wanted to get you guys' sense on it. Ernie, I want to start with you. You've got a lot of spaces where your students can get together, and Ernie works for a college that primarily medical, right? Health sciences. Is this interesting at all? I mean, is the Service Hub going to make an impact on the higher ed space in any way, shape, or form?
I think it will in some places. I'm not seeing it here right now. We're basically building our own using other products. Taking an interactive board and a computer, dedicating it to it, and sticking a camera on top of it when we need to. And that, for us right now, is a much more economical way to do what the service does. I think as the industry matures a little bit with these devices, we'll probably be looking at them. But like I said, I think it's neat. It's a tablet computer that you can't carry.
Well, yes.
I mean, that's pretty much what it is. It's a great big surface. I
Dang
mean,
it, Ernie stole my thunder on this one.
Yeah, I can see some places to put it, but not that many on our campus right now. But once again, I do think it's a neat product, and if they do deliver finally, it will be great. And once again, I know a lot of campuses that will use it, and we'll probably see it in a few specialty places, but not necessarily in a huddle space at the cost of it right now.
All right, Bill. He stole your thunder, so you can get it back a little bit. What do you think?
I can regroup and get my own.
Exactly.
So no, that's fine. I can understand from where Ernie's coming on this one because our own nursing department is very big about these things, but from a touch perspective, like with like a lot of our nursing students, we have large scale displays in our basic skills labs and everything, and those are like 80, 90-inch displays. For them, it's really more of, okay, here guys, you end up going over to your beds, go and start your processes and everything else and start to get these things going. The display is really meant for, everyone can read what what today's lab is. But on the same side, though, I can see adoption for this taking over, say, where Smart is kind of is kind of getting more into the, here we're doing more digital whiteboards that you can push to your, you have the app to push to your phone and everything, where I can see like K through 12 or colleges of education using that as a alternative to the smartboard with the lamp extension or projector on the short throw, eventually. But at the same time, I think my bigger concern is whether or not IT departments can say, hey, can we put our image onto this thing, or is it just Microsoft has a proprietary image for this thing? Here you go.
Well, and David, Bill brings a good point. The one thing that a lot of the pundits are saying about this, and this we're talking about pundits like Wall Street Journal and Forbes and stuff, is that this is Microsoft's play to the enterprise, right? Because it's Microsoft, because IT has such let's be honest, they have a certain trust level when it comes to Microsoft. They know the product. They can do stuff like images. David, from your standpoint, does that give them an advantage?
I think so. I think where we're going to see it play is in the Polytechnic Institute, where they're very heavily invested right now in Office 365 anyway.
Okay.
They're even looking at the OpenLM or the LMS 365 that's built in. Their thoughts are that students don't need to know how to use Blackboard or Canvas or whatever. That's not a skill they need. They do need to know how to use Excel and all the other Microsoft apps. So I think the fact that it is Microsoft is what's going to get it in there. And right now they have a spot 2 floors below me waiting for theirs.
Seriously, already?
Yeah, they've been waiting a while. They came back from a conference. You know how that goes, where they go to a conference and they see it. So the technology and innovation people have been looking to get their hands on it for a while. They're kind of doing, like Ernie said, they've been kind of making it work with a TV and some different Miracast and doing a lot of stuff there. But they have a very open it's kind of a competency-based education anyway. So they want to have it over in a spot where they can pull together quickly, stand around it, work on it, touch it, and then walk away. So I think that'll be probably the first place we see it. I think rightfully so, our education department seems to have held off. They don't see that K-12 is going to be able to afford it for a lot of years, so there's no sense of getting really fired up about having one in their hands for training purposes. So
real
I think
quickly, I'm sorry, go ahead, David.
No, I'm done.
Real quickly, just out of curiosity, where are they getting it from? Who do you know? What integrator they ordering it from?
No, I don't know where that's getting it from. I know they got the funding from a grant that's been kind of sitting there for a while, so they were hoping that they would start shipping before the end of our fiscal year. That they'd have to go through the process again to get it funded. So, when I talked to them the day before yesterday, they had just got notification that they were going to be getting it, but they didn't have a time frame yet or where it's going to be coming from.
Interesting. I might have to take a trip up to Purdue because seriously, just to meet David. But I'm that right there. That's the most interesting part of the story at this point, right? Is I think Lindsay Adler. We had her on when we were talking about it. She's from New Bay, SCN. Said that's the next story of this, right? Is once people start getting it in their hands and. Well, not in their hands. To Ernie's point, you can't carry it, but start getting it on their walls and utilizing it.
Maybe if you're Andre the Giant.
If you're Andre the Giant, yes, or LeBron.
Well,
James.
engineering went with the Intel Unite software, which kind of is just a computer hooked to that, but it gives them some of those same collaborative natures, but it doesn't work very well. So that's why they're not wanting to do that and roll that out in more places. And so everybody's just anxious to get their hands on this and see if it actually works the way as advertised.
Yeah. All right, Mr. Tomei, take a little bit different angle on this with you. This is a product that we've said and widely known that it's delayed more than 3 times. How do you design for that? I mean, how do you? So last year at ISE 2015, they finally had it on a show floor. So for the last, let's say 14 months. It's been something that people could at least look at. They had specs with. How do you spec for that? How do you design for that?
I am not. I fall into the camp here of not really understanding why everyone's making such a big deal about this device. So I probably wouldn't design for it to begin with. I feel like it's. You can get a lot of, like everybody has said here, you can get a lot of the same features from other interactive collaboration displays, but this one is a lot more expensive, and I just feel like some of the benefits don't really outweigh the cost here. So I probably wouldn't design for it. I think there are a lot of other alternatives out there. And a lot cheaper. You can install 2 or 3 of the competitors' products before you're installing one of these. But it kind of gets back to designing for any sort of new equipment. How gutsy are you that you're going to be the first one to throw it in there and put it in your install? And in this case, I don't know. I need to really see another demo. I saw the demo at InfoComm, and I kind of thought, no, it's nice, but it's not. I don't think it's groundbreaking. So I really would need to see it operating flawlessly to be able to say to somebody, yeah, it's definitely worth that money.
Well, hang on for a second. Nothing works flawlessly. Let's start there. I mean,
a light switch works flawlessly. It's on and off.
Okay, I'll give you that. A light switch, a basic, 1-0 light switch works flawlessly.
Yeah,
but nothing else.
Screen at times can work flawlessly.
No, they can't. The springs can break and
flawlessly. All right.
Yeah, okay, so things work flawlessly. Never mind. Let's move on before I get told I'm wrong again.
Technology fails.
Exactly.
Yep.
The sun rises. I make coffee. Technology fails. That's kind of the things in life. All right.
The best thing to do is have a boss that understands that.
Exactly.
Sunrise, sunset.
Matrox is unveiling. I'm totally just ignoring you guys. It's from AV Network. Speaking of New Bay, Matrox is unveiling the Monarch LCS lecture capture appliance. So, here's just in basic in general. This is Matrox's entrance into lecture capture, which is kind of why I wanted to bring it up. This is a subject that we've talked a lot about on this specific show over the last, good Lord, 3 or 4 years. Everything from Extrons and AMXs and Crestrons and hard drive based.
Hell, even as I say, even TriCaster is kind of moving in on those things. But.
So, Bill, let's start with you on this. First of all, is the product interesting enough to at least consider when you're doing your next refresh or you're doing your next your next update? Or is lecture capture one of those things where it's preferable to stay in one ecosystem? Is it kind of like a control system?
I'll go with this one in that I'll give Matrox credit in which they're taking the same path Extron is, in which if you read the specs on that one, there's both a HD SDI in and there's also a HDMI in. So it's one of those, if you are having it done by your broadcast guys, they can go and do this. If you're having it done by just your in-house AV support, they can take care of it too. It's one of those, like, either party can take care of it kind of thing. Is it interesting enough to where I'm going to look and change it up? Probably not, only because at least for me, our broadcast guys handle most of those things already, and they've got a what I call the road case of hell, in which it's a TriCaster, it's a whole mobile production suite, and they just roll that thing into wherever we need to happen. And lecture capture for us is not that often, but then, as I say, you're talking to the same guy whose faculty fought him on chalkboards, so
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, no, we put in glass boards and they wanted chalkboards back, and I'm like, no, that's not happening. No.
Actually, I want you to write a piece on your glass board.
Oh, what will eventually be my coffin? Sure,
Yeah.
No problem.
It's a very interesting story. I don't want to get into it now because this is half our program,
Yeah.
but no, it's kind of cool what he actually did. So, David, let's get your take on glass capture.
Well, I was kind of interested to read this article. Purdue is very invested in Echo 360, and they've really made some changes here recently with their active learning platform to where we're going to have to license a lot more than just lecture capture. And lecture capture is really what we need and what we have spread. I think every lecture hall has either appliance or the PC-based lecture capture. So we're struggling right now with how to justify the added expense for all of the bells and whistles that Echo 360 is adding. So for us, this might possibly be, because they mentioned partnering with Kaltura, which we use for our video storage, it could be something that we could go in and drop in where we have the appliances, which is probably, I'm thinking, about 55 different lecture halls. So if it's capable, it gives us an option out, because we're really kind of stuck behind a rock and a hard place of changing one way or the other, or staying with Echo 360 and going with their new licensing. So
very good. Ernie, from your standpoint, what's because you guys have lecture capture as well?
Yeah, we use lecture capture. The one thing that I find interesting here is they talk about their integration with learning management systems, and that's what makes or breaks the deal for us. Because we use Blackboard here, and finding an appliance that will output without much faculty touching it into the learning management system is a big deal. Our faculty want to be able to go in, they give a lecture, when they walk out, it's available to students. They don't want to have to do anything beyond that point. And right now we're using Blackboard Collaborate as our lecture capture tool. I like devices like this. I've looked at several of them. I have not looked at the Matrox, but I've looked at Matrox. We use a lot of Matrox gadgets in our systems, so I don't have a problem with them. They're always reliable.
Well, yeah, and that's
Tim,
the one
if
thing.
I could just
Yeah,
back
go
up
ahead.
something first.
Go.
And Ernie makes a good point on this one. And yes, we've talked about as I say, learning management systems to death. But the big thing with that one is that usually when it comes to schools, Greg, may he rest in peace on this one, but Greg was
Greg's not dead.
well about on this one. He's dead to me. Anyway. No.
Trying to start rumors.
Greg had pointed out, but Greg, if anything, when he was at UCLA, had multiple learning management systems, but most schools and everything usually are in the wrong one. This is the one we're sticking with. Ernie, just like me, we've invested quite a bit in Blackboard. Other schools may go with Canvas or even Kaltura, and for integrators to go and say, for manufacturers to go and say, oh yeah, no, our stuff bridges directly with Blackboard, with Canvas, with Kaltura, with the big ones. From a technology perspective, yeah, that makes life easier for us, because it's one less thing that we have to kind of, for lack of better terms, kind of help spoon feed the faculty on. So,
okay,
And our faculty
it
won't
makes
put up
life easier for them.
go ahead, Ernie.
So
our faculty won't put up with anything that's not like that. We're kind of unique in a health science institute. I have professors who lecture 2 hours a year.
Wow.
They're specialists in their area, they do research, they do surgery or patient care, but they come and they give their one lecture for 2 hours a year, and it's just as important to the students to hear that one as all these others. But it's not worth that instructor's time to learn what he has to do to make it work. He wants to be able to walk in the room, put on a microphone, talk, and walk out, and that's all he has to know about it. So I need something that's going to be simple for them to use. And we have a lot of people like that on our campus.
Yeah, where it just has to be, you just have to walk in, push a button, or maybe not even push a button, just go. So.
Yeah.
All right, Mr. Tomei, is this an interesting product? Should they be getting into this area, or is this area saturated already?
No, I don't think it's saturated. I think it's a pretty interesting product, actually. It's competitively priced to some of the other products out there that are similar, like Extron's SMP 351. Especially, Extron just released the dual recording upgrade for the 351.
Yep.
And Matrox is saying that this device can do that, which is nice because that a lot of these back-end video management pieces that people are using, you can have the dual recording of a camera content and then your presentation content. So it's nice that they are doing that right off the bat here. They're also paying attention to control too. They say they already have a Crestron module for this, which is nice. Yeah, this seems pretty serious about control, which is the first thing that always comes to my mind when I see lecture capture. You had mentioned in the past people like to keep lecture capture maybe within all one ecosystem, I think is how you worded it. In the past, that was probably necessary to have the same company making the box that did the recording in the room, and then the back end video management and storage and that sort of thing. These days, it seems like a lot of these companies are playing well together. Matrox and Extron and others will say that they integrate, as they say, seamlessly into a lot of these learning management systems and other video management systems out there. So it seems like they're all willing to work together. So I don't think you have to keep it in all one ecosystem anymore. You can really start piecing it out, and then it gets a lot more cost effective to kind of piece it out like this and put in recorders from different companies, and you're not going to spend a fortune on lecture capture like you were maybe 5 years ago. It was a lot more expensive. So yeah.
All right, guys. Last story here for this week, released this month. So InfoComm has had a long history with BICSI. It's a good relationship they have. They do standards back and forth. Now they're coming out and developing with BICSI an online category cable course. According to the release, it's a foundational training course for AV and IT professionals working with high-resolution video and real-time audio. Mike, we'll start out with you with this one, and actually everybody on this panel, myself included, has volunteered on some level with InfoComm. So this is kind of where our backstory comes from. Is we've all had experience with InfoComm, and some of the standards they put together, and some of them have done with BICSI. Is this something that InfoComm had to do, Mike, with BICSI, or could they have done this by themselves?
No, I like the fact that they're teaming up with BICSI on this. I think BICSI is really at the forefront of structured cabling as far as AV goes, and I could talk for a long time on structured cabling and probably what they're going to talk about in this class, but I feel like if you looked at Crestron or Extron's support database, there's a huge number of trouble calls that come in because of like poorly terminated RJ45 connectors on HD-based T systems. I think structured cabling and field terminations is a huge topic right now, and I'm glad that that BICSI's kind of at the forefront and InfoComm is teaming up with them. I think the AV industry really needs to start subscribing to the IT industry standards as far as no field terminations of RJ45 connectors, everything terminating to punch-down jacks, and using pre-made patch cables rather than terminating in the field. I've seen many issues these days with HD-based T cabling that people are putting in. For example, the Crestron Ultra cable is a Cat7A cable. So each twisted pair has its own foil shield around it, and then you have a braided shield around the cable. So if you've taken the DMCE class and learned how to terminate those cables, there's a lot that you have to do to properly terminate these new shielded CAT cables, and it's really easy to mess up those terminations. So I think that it's a great idea that BICSI and InfoComm are really addressing this, because I think the AV industry has to go that route where HD-based T manufacturers are going to start producing punch-down patch panels, just like you see in IT closets. You're going to see those in AV racks and pre-made patch cables for the AV industry that are going to have to be used, because in the IT industry, they're not doing what we're doing, where we're directly connecting and field terminating devices to switchers. The IT industry doesn't do that for a good reason.
When, and I'm going to hold you to this, because I've been looking for that and waiting for that, because folks like Extron and AMX and Crestron and HD-based T and Avenue Alliance and all these folks that rely on category cable have been trying to get it into the AV professional's head, especially in the installers, that this is category cable. This is not a VGA connector with an RJ45 on the end of it. So let's start treating it as such, meaning patch bays and punch downs and termination points. So when do you think that's going to happen, Mr. Tomei?
Well, so it's happening now with people like myself, that consultants that have to write specs. I know that a lot of us are not allowing field termination. There's always cases where it needs to happen.
Yes.
But in general, people need to be specifying the fact that these cables need to terminate to a punch-down jack, and then a pre-made patch cable needs to be used between that jack and the device, and even in the rack. I know that manufacturers, I know for a fact manufacturers are coming out with these types of patch panels, exactly like you see in IT closets, so that the IT people are not connecting a switch port to a wall jack off somewhere on that floor. It's going through that patch panel and punching down to a jack and that sort of thing. So I know for a fact that AV manufacturers are coming out with those types of panels very soon. So,
all right, Mr. Ernie, where do you come down on having InfoComm and BICSI together with this?
I like seeing them together. As Mike said, if the IT professionals that we work with and we team with now see that we have BICSI training, it goes a lot further in us knowing what we're doing, or them believing that we know what we're doing more than anything else. It gives us a little bit of credibility. I also like the fact that this is an online course, but it requires a skill demonstration component. As they say here, you have to take a picture or a video of you terminating and testing your cable. I think you ought to have to put your cable in the path of your class, to prove that it works.
I would agree with that. Seriously. Let's make sure that
your final, you made all the cabling,
Yeah.
But once again, I think it's great that they're teaming up together. I think we're seeing more and more of that coming, and I like it. I think it strengthens InfoComm when they partner with external groups that are related to them, but slightly different. I'm going to say this probably also strengthens BICSI in the AV industry.
Okay, that's a good point. That's one thing that BICSI has. Ernie makes a good point, because BICSI has had a on again, off again relationship. Not with InfoComm necessarily, but the industry in general.
Industry,
right. Yeah. All right, David, your take on InfoComm and BICSI coming together for this?
Well, I don't have a lot to add to what they've already said, but I do have a question of, do you feel like this is going to be something that you add to a certification for hiring? And how long do you think they'll have to vet that process before that'll be added? I mean, that'll be what we look at is as we hire our AV professionals, is there some sort of vetting process that we go out and have somebody take the course and then approve it for our new hires?
That's a good point. Ernie's, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I would use it for new hires, but I would ask anyone who's going to be terminating or working with cables to take the class after they've come to work for me if they haven't already had it.
So supported professional development then after you.
Right.
Yeah.
And we would probably give you 2 years from the time you're hired to go through the course or whatever.
How long do you give them for CTS, Ernie, if they don't have it? Just out of curiosity, just to give people a reference.
We have several levels of employment. Okay, a basic technician, it's called an associate level. They do not ever have to get their CTS. They won't ever get out of the entry-level position without it. Then we have an intermediate position, which if you have your CTS, you can move into that, or or if I hire you in and you don't have it, but you have, at that point you're going to have extensive experience in the industry. I would probably give you a year. If I hire a senior, and once again, if they don't have a CTS, they've got major experience somewhere else, I'd probably give them 18 months to 2 years. And that was something we would negotiate during the hiring process.
So you guys don't have a standard, you have to have it by X amount of days?
For all of them right now, I state, for the intermediates and the seniors and leads, you have to have a strong justification not to have it when you come to work for me. And then depending on what you're coming in to do, if I hired an intermediate or a senior to work on some of the projects I've got going right now, I would probably give them 1.5 to 2 years just because of where we are on projects and how much time they're going to be able to spend studying for it.
Yeah.
We're just kind of overloaded and understaffed right now. But if we were running, at a what I would consider a normal level, I would probably give an intermediate 6 months and a senior a year.
Okay.
Just because of the workload they would have on them. Once again, associate can take the test at any point. Once they've taken the test, I will, and demonstrated that they know what they're doing, I would start the paperwork to get them mucked up. Whenever the department had money, that's when that would be.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I tell them, and I've got a guy that's been at the associate level for 28 years.
Wow.
And he knows the AV industry. He knows the stuff as well as any of my seniors do, but he doesn't think you should have to prove it. So he stays at that level.
Yeah. As I say, strangely enough, I know a lot of broadcast. Never mind. Anyway.
Yeah.
I have a programmer friend of mine. Love him dearly, like a brother. He has the same view of that. Sometimes he's been doing it for 25, 30 years. He shouldn't have to become, AMX or Crestron certified or whatever. So, anyhow, Mr. O'Donnell, let's get back on the BICSI InfoComm before I get myself in trouble.
That's fine.
What think we?
Well, if anything, I'm actually glad that BICSI is doing this with InfoComm. If I have to actually look between whose certification or whose standards I would take a little bit more seriously out of this, would probably be BICSI. Because let's face it, when it comes to, think of it this way, when it comes to, and Mike's right about this one, when it comes to structured cabling, data infrastructure, things like that, the BICSI folk are a bit more in depth about it. And if you actually look at it, I think Extron, I don't know about AMX. I think Crestron does it, and I know Blonder Tongue does it, in which if you take those courses, you will get obviously your CTS renewal credits from InfoComm, but you'll also get BICSI credits. So yeah, for example, like Extron's, most of Extron's classes all have BICSI credits that you can get if you go to those. So I think it's one of those. Yes, in terms of terminating RJ45s, yeah, I'm sorry if someone this might be a debate at a later date, but if I have between someone who has a BICSI certification and someone who has a CTS, yeah, I'm going to give a little bit more preference to the CTS, but the BICSI guy, I'm going to look and say, all right, he's coming from somewhere. I want to see what he knows. Because you know what? Here's a perfect example about this. Not only does Extron probably have had those same phone calls when it comes to, oh, our HD-based T stuff isn't working, or oh, your XTP stuff isn't working, and it probably does relate back to, well, are you using shielded RJ45s? Are you using shielded cabling? Are you using, what spec are you using on the thing? And I'll go one further. I know from talking with some folks at a separate manufacturer, Kramer. They actually do use the shield on their RJ45 specs.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And you actually have to solder the shield to the RJ45 because they are using it to transmit data. If you don't solder that, and all of a sudden, oh, everything's not working. Well, did you meet our specs? And so, it's once again, it's where I give a lot of credit to BICSI, because those guys, it's like, no, this is your structured cabling, this is your data cabling, this is how you terminate Cat6A, this is how you terminate Cat6. I think they've even gone so far as to give out specs for terminating Cat7, which I am going to cringe when we get to that point.
Oh, it won't be that horrible. So either that,
take a look. They're individually shielded pairs.
Well, there is that. I'm still waiting on fiber to get down to the point where it's
actually, that's the other thing I'm kind of hoping for, is that eventually InfoComm does like some sort of fiber termination pairing. I mean, they could probably make a phone call to Corning and they'd go, oh yeah, sure, no problem, because you're right. We are going to have to eventually put things on fiber, and it'd be nice if they had a fiber certification.
Yes, because here's the deal, kids. I mean, it as much as we'll talk about this at a later date, probably actually at InfoComm, but as much noise is being made about 4K, the next generation is already here. NAB had probably more 8K cameras than they did 4K cameras, and NAB is National Associated Broadcasters. It's broadcast level, but these are the folks that are creating the content that we're ultimately going to consume. So they're already looking at 8K, even if Sony and some other folks on the display side are not. The content creation folks are the ones who have been pushing this, and not for nothing, but they started talking about 4K and the red camera 12 years ago now. So these are the folks to kind of watch as we wait for our next generation and our next iteration of resolution. So, all right, guys, that will do it for us. Mr. Bill O'Donnell, thank you, sir.
Thank you much.
How do people get a hold of you or stalk you or find you?
Well, they can find me on Twitter and LinkedIn. Twitter, it's the original OD, and LinkedIn, it's Bill O'Donnell.
All right, very good. All right, Mr. David, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
How do people find you besides running around and looking around Purdue?
On Twitter at Huck at Purdue or on LinkedIn.
All right, David Huck. Also, Mr. Ernie Bailey, thank you, sir.
Glad to participate.
And where do people
Find me on LinkedIn.
On LinkedIn. All right. And last but not least, Mr. Tomei, thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.
And how do people find you?
Well, my website is the best way. It's tomeiav.com. That's TOMEIAV.com. Or I'm also teaching 2 classes that I want to plug at InfoComm this year.
Yep.
IS02 and IS49 are the 2 classes. And one of them is a phased approach to classroom AV design and installation management. And the second one is a ADA standards compliance class for classroom AV design. So hopefully I can see some people there.
All right, very good. Yeah, go to sign up for those classes, go to infocommshow.org, look under education. Can they search by your name, Mike?
Yep, they can search by my name and both pop up, yeah.
All right, very good. My name is Tim Albright. Don't follow me, but go by the website. Lots of really great people have put a lot of work in it. AVNation.tv. AVNation.tv, you'll find this program and a host of others. We've got a weekly look at all things commercial AV as well as residential AV, 2 separate shows. One's called Resi Week, one is called AV Week. Those two shows and this one, we'll also be doing a live version of those at InfoComm. So if you've caught onto this podcast sometime in the middle of May, towards the beginning of June, and you're going to be in Vegas, come on by. We'll be in the North Hall. Also, we'll be doing a networking event. We call it a Tweet Up. It's the AV Tweeps Tweet Up. Thursday, June 9th, between 4 and 6 p.m. at rooms N205 and N206. Bottom line for you folks, it's free food, it's free drinks, and bring your business cards. That's all you gotta know. So, but yeah, that is the Tweet Up. So thanks so much for watching. Thanks so much for listening. This has been EdTech.